A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, was directed by Jack Shoulder and written by David Chaskin, releasing only 1 year after the first film, coming out in 1985, but taking place 5 years later as teenager Jesse Walsh moves into Nancy's old home on Elm Street, reawakening the burnt dream demon Freddy Krueger, who haunts Jesse's dreams and attempts to be reborn using Jesse's body as his vessel. Like always, let's start off with the positives. Firstly, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is one of the only films in the franchise, along with the original, that nails the dream sequences, by keeping them subtle and seamlessly transitioning from reality into a nightmare, keeping the characters and the audience in the dark, slowly building the tension until Freddy Krueger appears, not going too over the top like later installments of the franchise. Speaking of nightmares, Freddy Krueger is the most menacing he has ever been in this movie, and once again Robert Englund knocks it out of the park with his performance. This paired with the new special effects used to give him raised cheekbones, a hooked nose, and red and yellow eyes increases the demonic presence that he brings when on screen, resulting in this version of Freddy being my absolute favorite. Freddy Krueger's main victim in this movie is Jesse Walsh, played by Mark Patton, and is actually the first and only final boy in the Elm Street series. He does a good job at portraying an awkward teen that is being mentally and physically preyed upon by Freddy, making it easy for the audience to sympathize with him and the situation he's in, especially since his family doesn't believe him. This film is very unique, being mainly a possession story, unlike the rest of the series. Another reason it stands out is because of its famous homoerotic subtext and undertones, which can be seen in numerous scenes, including Jesse meeting Coach Snyder at a gay bar while being possessed by Freddy, along with the infamous dance scene. Hard to believe that David Chaskin, the screenwriter, denied there being any intentional subtext until 2010, right? An argument could also be made that Freddy Krueger is just an allegory for Jesse coming to terms with his sexuality. I like that they went with this unique and interesting concept, as it adds an extra layer and more depth to what could have been a generic run-of-the-mill slasher sequel. But I can also see why some people would dislike this for feeling out of place in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. This score was done by Christopher Young, and despite being less memorable than the first, it still gets the job done by giving off a very unsettling atmosphere that complements this movie's tone well. The beginning of the third act starts off strong, with Freddy finally being reborn through Jesse's body and proceeding to massacre a bunch of teens at Lisa's pool party, giving us this iconic shot and my favorite scene of the movie.
You are all my children now.
But then everything goes downhill when they arrive at the boiler factory. Now let's get into the negatives. There are some out of place scenes in this movie that left me scratching my head, like the random bird attack scene that looks really fake, and the odd looking demon dogs that somehow make it into the real world. The characters that are introduced in this film are far less interesting than any of those in the original, which was a tough act to follow, but still, aside from Jesse and Grady, I didn't really care if anyone else lived or died. Like I was saying before, when we transition to the factory where Freddy used to work, things start to get pretty bad. And when Lisa kills Freddy, somehow Jesse is still alive underneath, with zero explanation, making it feel cheap and lazy. Also, most of the kills are inferior to the first, and I expect more out of an Elm Street sequel. But all in all, this movie has a few flaws, but for the most part is interesting, entertaining, and most importantly, scary, giving A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 Freddy's Revenge a 7 out of 10. Once again, thanks a lot for watching these videos. They're my passion project, and it's great to know that some people out there watch them and find them entertaining. That being said, my next review will be on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.